Do you know what day it is today? Well, it's the 15th of August, but the 15th of August is a very special day in a crocheter's life because it is Happy Granny Square Day. Now we have a Granny Square Day to celebrate the humble beginnings of our Granny Square and everything that has evolved from then on in. It's a day that we use to unite our global crochet community, to share our squares and to celebrate in what is the humble Granny Square. The celebration was started by Simply Crochet magazine. They wanted us all to contribute our granny squares, no matter what we chose, so that they could create a virtual granny square blanket online. Now, this is celebrated mostly on Instagram, but we're going to celebrate it here too in our community feed. I encourage you to post one or more of your favourite granny squares so we can all just see and get inspired and enjoy the photos of what you create. If you're on Instagram, all you have to do is post a cropped photo so all you see is the square, and then tag Simply Crochet Mag or hashtag Simply Crochet Mag. And then you will be joined in to part of that big virtual Granny Square blanket. Now, I love this celebration day because I get to watch it over 2 days. Because of the time zones of the world, I get to see it on my day, which is the 15th, and then the next day, which is the 15th. So I spend 2 days scrolling through Instagram and just seeing so much crochet goodness. I just enjoy it so much. So if you're not on Instagram, you could still pop over there and just follow Simply Crochet Magazine and see what they have created too. This year I've decided to post 4 granny squares. Normally I do a traditional granny square and a nice fancy one. This year I want to post these squares. These 4 squares were part of a project called the Traveling Crochet Blanket. So a designer from many different countries around the world would design a square and we'd put them together. Now, because I didn't like the other squares, I only liked these 4. I made these ones only and they've been sitting with me ever since. So let me show you what these are. Number 1 is called the Dagny Square, Dagny, and it's designed by Megan Makes Do. So if you want to make this one, all you would have to do is Google that information. All right, my next one is the Tulip Square, and this one is by Wilma Westenberg. I really love it. Now this one doesn't really have a name and it is very similar to the Sunburst. Well, actually the first 3 rounds is the Sunburst square. She's just added different ones from then on out. So what this one is called is number 13 of the Travelling Crochet Granny Square blanket. It is by someone called Make and Do Crew. So search for the Travelling Crochet Blanket Square. The next one is called Simple Crochet Granny Square. And that's its name. It is nice and simple, but it's effective. I always love eyelets. I think eyelets just give a nice, what's the word I use? Not stunning, not romantic. What's the other word that I like to use? Classy. I think eyelets give a classy look, and that is what I really, really like. Now, this is by Simple Things by Tia. So it's as simple as that. Because if you like any of these four, you can head over and make them. I'm not allowed to make these ones and show you how. That would be breaching a copyright law. And we don't want to do that, do we? But I love these ones so much that I'd love to combine them with something, of course, to make another blanket. Now, I am going to have to read some of this to you because I do have quite a bit of information here about the origins of crochet and our Granny Square. So, the classic Granny Square dates back to the late 1900s. In 1857, a crochet square resembling the traditional Granny Square was published in a book called Weldon's Practical Needlework. This square was the same as ours, but it only had 2 double crochets where we have 3. And I have a photo to show you, which I'm going to pop up here. It's an old black and white, but you know what? I'm going to have a go at making this one and see how it turns out. However, evidence of what they feel is crochet work was found 6,500 years before Christ. In Israel, they found what resembled decorations for clothing and religious icons. Also at that time in Israel, they found something else called nail binding. Now, what's nail binding? Nail binding is a Norwegian word for needle binding or needle linking. They use needle looping techniques which resemble our slip stitch. So it produces a very thick and warm fabric. I'm going to pop a photo up here, which is actually a beanie done in nail binding, and it does resemble a piece of work that is done in the round in slip stitches. Now, this type of needlecraft did spread through Europe and through China, and they found evidence and work that the Vikings had used this to create really thick and warm socks and mittens. I have a photo of a sock to show you here. Not only does the stitch bear a close resemblance to our crochet slip stitch, it also looks like that with a combination of stockinette knitting. From 300 years BC and to 300 years AC, they found in Egypt some socks that had toes made into them that were also made from this technique that looked like a cross between knit and crochet. I've got a photo of this one here for you too. From 900 to 1100 AD, a fragment of a garment made in a chevron pattern was found, but still to this day, they don't know whether it was actually used and made by a hook. It resembled the double crochet, but they weren't certain enough to be able to tell us it was crochet with a hook. But the chevron stitch, I did see a photo of it, which I now can't find, and it was exactly like what we make now. So to think of that all that time ago, they had actually started something that we all use nowadays. I find that really quite amazing. Now in South America, they found that Indigenous cultures used to use a type of primitive hook, looped and knotted netting, fibre adornments for them to wear, were used in their ceremonies and culture. Areas across the Andes created highly complex fabrics, fibres using looping knots, netting and looping in the round. So things were really happening, weren't they? Even back then. Now, amigurumi, even though we know it as a Japanese word, it actually started back in China. So the historians found the earliest evidence of small 3D stuffed yarn figurines back to ancient China in the years between 1600 and 1040 BC. So how's that? Amigurumi started in China, and even back then they were making plushies of sorts, that is. I really was trying to search for a photo for that one, but I wasn't able to find it, unfortunately. I just love to see what it would look like. True crochet apparently didn't exist in the 1600s, but there was a group of Italian nuns who were making lace, and it looked very, very much like crochet lace. They can't prove that it was crochet because they used loop forming needlework techniques to create lace and textured items as well. So now let's fast forward to the 1800s in Europe, and that was when the very first crochet pattern was published in a newspaper. Yes, newspapers back then. I'll pop a photo up here of a pattern for a child's vest. How funny that they put them in the newspaper. I think the news should start doing that more often nowadays, teaching people real life skills instead of all this doom and gloom all the time. I feel like the news should be interesting and helpful and educational information, as it obviously was back then. Why did things change? During that time, the French created a word for crochet from croche, and we see that one still, C-R-O-C-H-E. Croche, crochet, crochet maybe. All right, so that one means crochet in French. And the Germans had a word called croc, and I'm sure you don't say it like that. I just don't know how Germans would express C-R-O-C. So that's their meaning of a hook, which also means crochet. Now, there were a number of origins and precursors to crochet in the 1700s onwards. There was something called tambouриning, which was an embroidery style looping with a hook. Crochet in the air was the background fabric had been removed, leaving only the thread stitches. Now, I don't understand that at all. I couldn't find information that explained it to me any better than that. Crochet in the air, when the backing fabric has been removed, leaving only the thread stitches. And shepherd's knitting. Now, we've heard of this, haven't we? This is slip stitch using a hook. Is it the shepherd's hook that we hear about it? Is it nooking? I need to go and search for that. Hang on a moment. Okay, the shepherd's hook. I think it's just a term I've heard throughout life and doesn't relate back to the shepherd's crochet. Says here, shepherd's crochet is also called Bosnian crochet, early form of crochet using slip stitch, worked on a flat, small hook. I have a photo for you. Creating dense, thick and elastic fabric that resembles knitted material. That sounds like Tunisian crochet to me. However, I had a quick check and the shepherd's crochet has nothing to do with Tunisian, even though Tunisian comes out looking like knitted as well. Okay, so the shepherd's crochet spread through Europe and then into China, and then the Vikings used it to create their super durable, very warm socks and mittens. During the Great Depression of the 1930s, crochet was seen as a thrifting activity. It was used to create items of warmth when warmth was such a scarcity. They would use little pieces of yarn ends. If they didn't have enough of that, they would tear up fabric, which is similar to what we do now with t-shirt yarn. And people have done crochet with actual fabric material in strips. They were doing it back then. They also used to pull apart jumpers and sweaters and things that were no longer being able to be used to make up blankets, socks, beanies and other sweaters out of things to keep them warm. So how's that? It's just done a big full circle and we are still doing the same things. Now, fast forward from back then to the 1970s, where crochet shifted from a domestic part-time and became a vibrant counterculture movement and fashion statement. It was characterised by colourful granny squares, textured vests and boho style garments. Now it also had a little political meaning about it too. The craft represented personal freedom, self-sufficiency and the rejection of the mass-produced consumerism. Doesn't that sound familiar to you? That is what we are doing now. So, what started in the 1970s as a cultural movement is still going or has had a resurgence, and we're in the midst of it now. So in the 1970s, acrylic yarn was being used. Both men and women were crocheting, creating Afghan blankets, vests, cardigans, hats, bags, you name it, skirts, tops, dresses. And still then, newspapers were publishing patterns. How good's that? Nowadays, crochet is taking the world by storm, and you and I are riding that wave. What an exciting time to be alive. I think so. Sure, COVID-19 helped kickstart crochet again because during the lockdowns of 2019, 2020, people were looking for things to do, handicrafts, so crochet really started to take off again then. And also we had access to the World Wide Web, and that changed everything. The online world has created a huge and a thriving online crochet community, and it is such a wonderful thing. I really feel like we're lucky to be here now with that option, even though for us at the moment we focus on our crochet as a nice mindful activity, which is really good for our mental health and for making modern crochet garments and home decor. But now as well, we're also able to instantly contact our crochet friends to ask questions if we need help with something, to share our makes, to gain inspiration from others, to join in with crochet alongs. all sorts of lovely crochet related activities. That we have a wonderful sense of shared belonging and validation, and that is just so good for our health in every way. It is filled to the brim with community, encouragement, motivation, and absolute and sheer joy. So, in a nutshell, crochet started many centuries ago in a very primitive form. It then evolved to being the 2 double crochet granny square, changed it up to the 3 double crochet granny square, to the traditional granny square that we know today. Now you can have solid granny squares, you can have granny squares with all sorts of patterns. You know, look at these sort of things that we make. The beauty is amazing. I wonder what the people back then would have thought when they saw what we're doing, how humans have evolved, our crochet has evolved as well. And we are so fortunate to be part of the movement that is crochet now. So I wish you all such a happy Granny Square Day. It's more than that, and you know what I mean. Happy Crochet Day. Happy Crochet Life Day. Happy Crochet Togetherness Day, because that's what it is, all encompassed together. It's a crochet life. It's a wonderful life. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I will see you again in another video really soon. I hope you enjoyed that little history lesson. I did like researching it and seeing where we came from, because we are crocheters. Bye for now. Bye.